Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Rotolo. I am a program manager with McMaster Continuing Education. I would like to thank you for joining today's session. With me are a ton of experts from our partner, the Canadian Marketing Association, and we're very fortunate to have them here. Now, before we start, I would like to acknowledge and recognize that McMaster Continuing Education is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and the Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. So I'd like to introduce you to Susan McVeigh. She is a course instructor with our partner, the Canadian Marketing Association, and she'll be talking to us today about marketing in Canada. Susan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. And today, we can go to the next slide. What I wanted to talk about, marketing in Canada is a little bit different than some other countries. A lot of it's based on the fact of our geography and the regionality of the geography and the way in which Canada was formed. So we're going to talk about where we are kind of in the world to understand Canada's place. We're going to talk about geography,
but he's
and
he's familiar. Yeah,
we're going to talk about some of the key factors like diversity and multiculturalism that are really important in Canada, and some cultural touchstones in terms of tools and ways in which we market effectively in Canada, touching on media and touching on the regulatory environment. This is just a little bit of a little overview. We were at 41 million people population-wise in Canada in 2024. We're closer to 42, likely now. Sometimes people think that Canada is a small country, but geographically we're huge. We are the second largest country by landmass in the world, but we do have a relatively small population. We do currently have the longest unguarded border in the world, and we have a very strong economy. We are the 10th largest economy in the world, which again surprises people sometimes. We have a lot of great geographical attributes, like the most lakes of any country in the world, and we have 10% of the planet's forests here in Canada. So we're very resource rich, and we are considered the coldest country in the world. The Yukon can get as cold as Mars, if you can believe it or not. And we cross 6 time zones. In fact, Newfoundland has their own time zone. And we have some of the oldest rock in the world. So there are some geographical wonderful things about Canada. The thing that's different about Canada is our population is not spread out. About 90% of the population lives within 100 miles of the US border. And you can see this map shows the density of the population. You can see it's very dense in the Ontario, Lower Ontario, Southern Ontario region, and we'll talk about that. We also have 2 official languages. We know French and English, but we also have 70 Indigenous languages, and 400 other languages are spoken in Canada. So incredibly diverse, and important to recognize that from a marketing perspective. So this is taken right out of the course. We have a whole course, Marketing in Canada, and this visual, if we could go to the actual one in the course, we're just going to take a quick tour around the country to be able to show you regionally what some of the major differences are across the country. Lots of times people think, if we can't get there, it's fine. I can just talk to it. The regionality, there are distinct characteristics of each of the regions in Canada. And we like to think, oh, well, Canadians are a homogeneous group of people. Well, in fact, there's a lot of regional differences. Up north, it's a very sparse population in the territories, Nunavut, the Yukon, and the Northwest Territories, and highly populated by our Indigenous groups. And so, we have a very small population there. Out west, if we start with British Columbia, British Columbia has approximately about 4 to 5 million people, highly concentrated in Vancouver. It's the furthest time zone in the West, and the very focused on hospitality and tourism, as well as some other industries. When we moved to Alberta. Now Alberta is quite a bit different. It has about 4 to 5 million as well, and this is oil and gas. That's what Alberta is known for. 2 major cities in Alberta, Edmonton and Calgary. And their economy is very attuned to the oil and gas industry, as well as some other resources. Saskatchewan and Manitoba are the prairie provinces, very sparse population, 3 to 4 million, I think 3 million in Manitoba, and about 2 million in Saskatchewan. So it's a very also that's agricultural based. And then when we move to Ontario, Ontario is the largest populated province. There's about 16 million people in Ontario. And we're going to go into a little bit more depth about some of the aspects in Ontario. It is the economic engine of the country in some ways. It's got 38% of the population, 40% of the GDP comes from Ontario. Very mixed industries, including, financial services, technology, hospitality, tourism. So a wide range of industrial and manufacturing base as well. And so it is one of the, key parts of the economy. And we'll get into talking about how people in Toronto believe in the fact that they are at the center of the universe, but other Canadians don't necessarily agree with that. We moved to Quebec, which again, we're going to touch a little bit on Quebec. It's super important in Quebec that you understand the cultural differences in Quebec. It is French is the official language in Quebec. And while we are a bilingual country, French is dominant, and there are specific laws and regulations for marketers to adjust their marketing and all of the things, including signage and packaging and advertising, are subject to very strict regulations. So it's key to understand that if you are marketing in Canada, that you have to take into account if you're doing national campaigns, and if you are doing national campaigns, you need to really understand the Quebec market and be able to tailor campaigns specifically to the Quebec market. The cultural differences are fairly distinct and could take an hour to actually just talk about those. Then we have the maritime provinces, which include Newfoundland, New Brunswick, PEI, and Nova Scotia. And these provinces are, from a population perspective, quite a bit smaller. There's only about 2.2 million people in the whole of the Atlantic provinces. And their background is very much Anglo-Saxon Irish, different from some of the other provinces where the growth came from other sectors. So that's a quick overview of the different regions. And the thing that's important to understand is that when you live in Ontario, especially Southern Ontario, that the rest of the country is not exactly the way that we are here in Southern Ontario. If we could go to the next slide, I can get into a little bit deeper. So there's an area bordered here that is called the Golden Horseshoe. So this is bigger than Toronto, bigger than the GTA. This is, we're going through to like St. Catharines, Kitchener, Barrie, and Peterborough. And that area was named the Golden Horseshoe. It represents a population of about 10 million. So if you think about the original number of 41 million, 42 million, this is 25% of the Canadian population lives in this specific area. When we go down a little bit further and we talk about the GTA, there's, almost 8 million people in that area, and Toronto, might be closer to 3 million today, but these numbers I have are 2.8. So significantly dense population and very culturally diverse. So this particular area represents about 25% of the Canadian GDP. So when we talk about economic engine of it being Ontario, this specific area contributes dramatically to the economy in Quebec. If things go south in Southern Ontario, the Canadian economy goes with it. And it's important to understand that where we live in the GTA, the Toronto in Toronto, over 200 languages are spoken. It is incredibly diverse, and it is not representative of the entire rest of Canada. If I could go to the next slide, please. When we get into Quebec, again, like I said earlier, Quebec represents a huge market as well. It's about 9 million people, so significant population. And French is the official language. And as I said, there are very specific laws that govern the marketing and advertising and retail signage. And they are culturally in Quebec. I grew up there. Quebecois have two very different approaches than the rest of what's called the rest of Canada approach, and they adopted this idea of masters in our own house, which led to a movement where they modernized education and separated the church and the state. The church was very dominant. The Catholic Church was very dominant in Quebec, and they went through a process a number of years ago, about 30 years ago, where they moved away from that. The other part of the Quebecois culture is this idea of joie de vivre, this idea of a life is to be enjoyed, and you live for today, and you live in the moment, and you're looking at life in a very different way than perhaps Ontarians, who are more about work to live than live to work. In Quebec, it's really important as a marketer that you understand the culture, and that you don't try to, fool your way in. That participating in local events matters more in many cases than just creating an ad. And being very careful about how if you are advertising, are you doing adaptation, or are you doing a brand new campaign that acknowledges the Quebec approach and culture. So really important. Quebec is a significant market, and it shouldn't be treated as a second thought. Like, it shouldn't be, oh yeah, no, let's do something in Quebec. So one thing to really remember, especially when you're doing national campaigns. Next slide, please. This is just a quick synopsis on Western and Atlantic Canada. Western Canada, as I said, very resource rich. BC is the most diverse of all the provinces, so they are not as diverse as Ontario. And Alberta, you see some things happening with Alberta and their separation movement. They are much more aligned with US attitudes around conservatism, education, and different than maybe here in Ontario. Manitoba and Saskatchewan are the most rural. They have very small populations in comparison to the rest of the country. And they're generally younger in the West than they are in Central and Atlantic Canada. When you go to Atlantic Canada, it's not very diverse. It's very Anglo-English, Irish, as I said, and it is evolving though. It was very dependent on the fisheries industry, and now there is a significant investment in technology and in energy with oil reserves found off the shore of Newfoundland and other areas. So it is also older and it's less diverse, as I said. It is much more reliant on traditional media. Radio is really quite big in Atlantic Canada. Newspapers still resonate. So when you're adapting across the country from a media perspective, you need to take some of these local or regional aspects into account. I could have the next slide, please. In terms of demographics, the face of, you know, the aging and the of the boomers and the growth of millennials is changing how you want to think about audiences. When we look at these charts, and you might not be able to see them that well, but the boomer population obviously is declining as the boomers get older and they are dying off. So they are definitely shrinking. It used to be, we used to call it the dumbbells, you know, the two dumbbells were the millennials and the boomers, big population groups with everybody in between. And now we're seeing that the millennials are representing about a third of the working adults. So it's a important factor in understanding how to be targeting and who is representing you know, bigger segments of the population. Next slide, please. One thing that's also important to remember about Canada is that we were built on immigration. Everybody in Canada, other than Indigenous population, is from either their family or them from another country. And we have an incredibly diverse population. And continuing to be diverse, you can see the chart showing the growth in the number of immigrants in Canada. And while there have been some pullbacks in terms of the number of immigrants to the country, it's still required for growth here in Canada. So an important factor to remember. And if we could move to the next slide. This is taken from StatsCan. StatsCan has incredible resources when you are looking to try and understand your audience. This is just showing just a screenshot of one of the visualizations they have, which is, this is Ontario. And so you can see percentages of where people's place of birth is, and then also their place of residence. And so in these charts, what it's showing is Ontario is the most popular destination for immigrants to Canada. And so they represent, Ontario represents the red on the charts if you can't read the actual labels. So we have an incredibly diverse and attractive environment here for immigrants. And important to remember when you are marketing here in Ontario, that you are marketing to a diverse population. So this is just an example of an ad.
Okay, give me Palmer.
Can't quite hear it.
Hey kid, wanna play? Played baseball before? No?
So that is a Canadian Tire ad, and it just is a representation of how companies, Canadian companies, market here in the country and acknowledge that multiculturalism is a really important part of our culture, and understanding it and demonstrating as a company that you understand it and respect it is also an important lesson for marketers.
Give me Wade. Okay, give me Palmer. Hey kid, wanna play?
Okay. You choose him?
Ever played baseball before? No? What a joke. Seriously? Kidding me?
When the best of us steps up,
I thought you said you never played baseball. Cricket.
our nation stands a little taller. We all play for Canada.
So it's just an example of one of our strong Canadian companies, communicating the value and the importance of diversity and acceptance and inclusion. I like that little message that I thought you said you didn't play baseball, and he says, yeah, cricket. And so it's a great example. Canada, and I think this is part of the big, the fact that we're such a large country, and a lot of the times we have some bad weather, but that we are one of the most digitally connected countries in the world. And it sometimes might surprise people, but we are. And so the importance for a marketer of understanding that is that digital, in fact, accounts for 75% now, over 75% of all advertising spending in Canada. When we think of traditional media, we are, really evolving to, it's much more digitally focused marketing that you have to be thinking about. And then the absolute, understanding the platforms. The platforms, of course, are similar across the country that they are in most countries. But that use of digital is really important, and understanding how it's used and who uses it. I mean, if you're going to reach younger audiences, 100% you need to be including digital in your plans. Not to say that traditional media has gone away completely. Certainly, if you look at the World Series in baseball and what's happening in baseball, those ads are incredibly valuable. So we have 94% of our population is online, and search is a super important part of brands today. Understanding people are searching online, and then over a third of people regularly purchase online. And mobile, you have to understand how to use mobile effectively, and also understand where the strengths are in some of the regional areas. Like I said, the traditional media is still strong in Atlantic Canada. Talked about multiculturalism. It is written in our charter. It's super important. Diversity and inclusion are integral to our identity. But within Canada, there are some strong regional identities, as well as we see in Alberta, we see in Quebec, we see in the Atlantic provinces. So you need to really kind of understand that, especially if you're going to do regional promotions. You want to, our tone is different, so different from the US. Generally polite, we're perceived as polite, and sometimes subtle messaging works well with Canadians. We think fairness, environmental sustainability, and social responsibility are important. So for brands, that's an important thing to be focused on. And while we are not seen as, as patriotic in a sense, as loud about it as, maybe the US, our neighbor, it's certainly risen in the last number of months, and important to recognize. These are just some of the cultural touchstones. When people say Canada, a lot of times Tim Hortons comes up. It's a part of every community, and a really important Canadian brand. It's iconic. We think about hockey, we think about the Maple Leafs, we think about the weather. And I'll just move to the next slide. We're not gonna, this is just something understanding about Canadians a little bit. Canadians always say, so I'm sorry. And when working on this course, I found that we are probably the only country in the world that has actually enacted this as a law saying that if you, say I knocked into you on the road and knocked you down, and I would say sorry, we have a law that says that doesn't mean that you're claiming responsibility for it. So it's kind of a unique Canadianism thing, and it's just an example of kind of what makes us a little bit different than some other cultures. And it's important to understand these little nuances when you are marketing. And you can kind of actually use this and sometimes make sort of fun of us for having this sort of attitude. I'll just go to the next slide. The weather. The weather is something that if you never know what to talk to somebody about in Canada, you talk about the weather. We are obsessed with the weather. And if you go to the next slide, I'll show you proof that we are obsessed. This is Google Trends. This is how many of the interest over time. So this is based on searches. We're the blue line. Canada's the blue line. And the rest of the countries are well below us in terms of interest in the weather. The weather is the most searched term in Google in Canada, unlike almost every other country in the world. So just remembering that as well, you can do a lot with that from a marketing perspective. We're not going to show this spot because it's not working well, but this is a great spot. Tim Hortons does really great advertising. There are a lot of cultural touchstones in this ad that demonstrate how Tim Hortons understands the psychology of people and cultures, and that hockey and kids and hockey and arenas are used as community gathering spots. The regulatory environment. There are both federal and provincial regulations, and as marketer, you need to familiarize yourself with those, and they change. So it's important to stay up to date. This is a really important part of marketing. There are regulations around privacy, marketing to children, competition, language ones, as I mentioned in Quebec. Two really important ones are CASL, Canadian Anti-Spam, which talks about how you can and can't message Canadians, and PUD, which is a federal privacy rules, really important from a marketing perspective. So key things to be educated on. In summary, a lot of what this was about is, and the whole course is about this, but is understanding and respecting the regional and cultural differences. There are many across Canada. You need to understand your target audience, key in any kind of marketing activity. And we are distinct and different from the US. Lots of times people come in and think that, we're Americans in a different country, and we're not. The marketing landscape is constantly changing. So it's so important to do your research, to stay up to date on regulations, and to understand your consumer. Key in any marketing activity here in Canada, you want to know, if you're advertising, as I said, in Quebec, it's distinct and different. And that in marketing in Canada, very digital, we're savvy and we're engaged in the digital environment. So some key takeaways: it's really important to stay up on the trends and be learning continuously. The market, as I said, the landscape evolves. And so ensuring that you are learning, it's important to embrace different technologies and platforms in that learning. And the cultural and regional sensitivities and data privacy and compliance are incredibly important. So it's really, really critical that you understand that. And then supporting others with mentoring opportunities to local offerings, finding ways to show your support in the community or key areas. So really important takeaways for marketing in Canada. So thank you. And I will pass this on now to Melissa.
Thank you so much, Sue. You did a great job of condensing that CMA Marketing in Canada course in such a short period of time. I think you really gave us a really high level view of some really key points. So thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm happy to be on the webinar today. My name is Melissa Wagner. I'm our Director of Marketing here at the CMA. I oversee our professional development offerings, including our Chartered Marketer program, as well as our CMA Next platform for students and emerging marketers. So I'm very happy to highlight a little bit about the learning journey of a marketer, what a career career path in marketing in Canada could look like and how the CMA could be a part of that journey. So, Irina, if you want to just flip to the next slide there, I'll be a little selfish and talk a little bit about myself. So I will highlight, not that I wanted to put a timeline out here, but I graduated in 2012. So I just wanted to highlight too of what a career path could look like and just give you sort of a perspective of the last 12 to sort of 15 years and what that roadmap for me and my career has looked like. So after graduating, I will say I did not immediately find a role in marketing. I actually started in fashion, but it took me a few years to sort of find my footing. I was always pursuing some learning in terms of marketing, even when I wasn't necessarily in a marketing role. So I was still doing, some social media marketing, some blogging, really learning some fundamental platforms to land me my first marketing career role. So I started in 2015 in a marketing role. I continued to do professional learning. So I will say part of the running thread that you'll probably hear today is that continuous learning and professional development is such an important part of what a long-term career growth could look like because of, I think Sue had mentioned it too, but there's so much that continues to change, and as trends evolve or as our platforms and systems evolve, we also don't know everything, right? So it's just so important to keep learning. There's so much nuance in marketing and there's so much to learn. So it's really important to stay on top of that, stay on top of the trends, and keep learning, keep exploring, keep finding new opportunities to dive into. So over the last sort of 10 years, I have had career progression. Part of my continuous learning journey sort of led me to one-off courses, primarily at the CMA, just sort of my go-to source for learning after I completed at my PSI. But what I will say, I was just sort of finding one-off courses or a semester course, and I was like, I wanted to feel like I was proceeding with something and sort of getting to a pinnacle, which is why I wanted to pursue the Chartered Marketer program. So that really sort of led me through a program towards a designation with a goal in mind, with some really strategic learning throughout the entire program. And I call this my full circle moment, but all these years of learning, even from when I first started my marketing career role, I always sort of learned continuously with the CMA, and that brought me full circle to being the marketing director here at the CMA. So I really, give kudos to the team at the CMA for all their foundational learning opportunities that they offer and sort of cover the gamut of topics and marketing specializations to allow, marketers to continue to learn on these really important subjects to help them in their career growth to, potentially find the career of their dreams. And for me, that led me right now to the CMA. So I'm very thankful for that. So Irina, if you want to just flip to the next slide. When we're talking about, careers and what your marketing career could look like, and even on a day-to-day level, I will say no 2 days are ever the same, and that's important when I talk about, my day-to-day at the CMA. There's obviously some really key foundational things in here that you would see at courses in McMaster or even in some of our learnings with the CMA. There's some really strong things that you need to know, like performance analytics and what those metrics look like. What are KPIs that you need to know? What are things that we need to continue to calculate? Another big part of that is communication. The team on the call today, I have a lot of consistent communication, whether that's emails, whether that's team meetings. It's really important to effectively communicate and make sure that we're all on the same page with our plans and our execution. There's a lot of other items that are part of that. So strategic planning, content, brand content, collaboration is another big part of that. Budget management, which I know Jeff would probably love to deep dive into the finance component of things. And obviously, just at the end of the day, resources, having everything that supports all of our marketing plan, all of our initiatives, that we're all on the same page as a team and that we're moving forward and collaborating and executing as a team. So that's a really big picture of my role at the CMA, some of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. But one of the things that I also love about marketing is because no 2 days are ever the same, there's a lot of exciting opportunities in there. So there's pivots, there's last minute requests that will come up, there's lots of surprises, and that's sort of the fun part too. So I'm very happy to be a marketer. I'm so excited for the support of the CMA to future-proof what marketing looks like. the whole industry, these roles. I think it's really important. And I think with the foundational learning of McMaster and the CMA, that's really important to keep future-proofing marketing. So I will pass it off to Chris, who's going to tell you a little bit more about some of the McMaster programs.
Chris Rotolo still program manager for our marketing programs. And what I want to tell you a bit about our marketing programs is how they've been modernized to align with today's industry standards and how they offer a structured yet flexible learning pathway. So students who take this program are going to build a really strong foundation in modern evidence-based theories related to marketing strategy, consumer behavior research, analytics, and have opportunities for specialization in areas such as digital marketing, branding, and media planning and buying. So if you're curious about a program that has Canadian context relevant to what Susan was talking about, and dual recognition from academia, i.e. DeGroote School of Business, and industry, my illustrious partners here, then you're probably going to be quite interested in what I have to say. So we'll start with, because there's two marketing programs. There's our marketing program and our digital marketing program. Irina, we can go to the next slide. You'll see here, so again, this program was designed in partnership with DeGroote School of Business, meaning that any courses that you complete as part of our marketing diploma or certificate also receive academic credit towards a relevant degree, while helping you get that professional in-demand skills that you've heard what a range of them they are that Melissa needs, right? So you'll achieve these learning outcomes here, but rather than read them to you, let me tell you why this program is different than any other program in Canada. First of all, and with some of the advice through our partnership here, we've added performance and financial subject matter in 3 specific areas: budgeting and planning, campaign management, and what's mostly post-campaign analytics. And these are addressed across 3 separate courses. This is amazing because these are some of the things that you're expected to just learn on the job, and these are the things that will help drive ROI-based marketing decisions, which is kind of central to everything we all do, right? And I'm not saying that with the bias of being a direct marketer. We've also, one of the areas I'm very excited to be bringing data into this as a performance marketer, but another area I'm very excited about is what we've done with market research and consumer behavior, because these were both revised. Both courses have replaced 70-year-old marketing theories that were based on psychology, which is the study of the mind and individual behavior, with more modern marketing theories based on sociology and anthropology, which is the study of group behavior. So not only are these theories more appropriate for mass communication, they're evidence-based and represent what is only in the last 2 years becoming emerging best practice. So here is a case where academia is actually ahead of the industry in our ability to deliver to you what the future of marketing looks like. And then we have some interesting elective courses. One of the most notable would be our media planning and buying course. This is really desirable for students who are interested in working at an agency or working independently in an entrepreneurial fashion. Because you would be able to determine which audiences, ad types, and combinations of media channels achieve your communication goals. And then you'll learn, how do you actually go about buying those ads? Not a lot of programs offer you that final mile. As far as I know, there's no other university that offers it. And I knew of one college or 2 colleges that did, but one of them has closed their program. So this is a unique opportunity to stay in the university ecosystem, get the degree and industry recognized credits, and learn a practical skill for an area of the industry that is almost always hiring. So as I said, as you see here, there are 3 marketing program pathways to choose from. You can pursue a certificate in marketing, which requires only your 6 core courses, or you can add a few more courses and go the diploma route, or you can go all the way and gain a diploma in marketing with a digital marketing concentration, which will give you the best of both this program and the next program I'm going to talk to you about. Again, all of our programs are delivered in 100% online format so that it meets your needs, your schedule, and your learning preferences. Our online format will typically include weekly readings, some facilitated discussion, multimedia content, group and individual projects and assignments. We do a lot of experiential learning, so you might be working with a industry level simulation, you might be working with real clients, but you're going to get the strategic element that McMaster's always offered, and practical element and tools and tasks that you can perform that will make you valuable day one when you start working. You'll be able to do something that's needed right away, right? And of course, by completing one of our marketing programs, you're recognized by the Canadian Marketing Association as qualified for an accelerated pathway towards that chartered marketing designation. It's the only marketing designation recognized across Canada, and it sets a very high standard in the marketing industry. If this sounds cool, and I really hope it does, it should, you can learn more about the program and course offerings by visiting our website. So as I've said, as you've heard, the Canadian Marketing Association, largest Canadian Marketing Association educator, champion of the Chartered Marketing designation, and a nationally recognized program that allows for the top marketing and talent to continue to invest in their career beyond kind of the initial learning that an institution like McMaster is well suited for, right? So we can hop ahead 2 slides if you'd like, and I'll quickly dive into the digital marketing program, right? So here, this is a program that's like our marketing program being recently redevised. It's cutting, bleeding edge. We include the appropriate use of AI in content marketing. So it's not just, hey, this is how you prompt. We're saying, okay, this is where, this is the rationale and the reason, etc., showing you how you can develop like kind of production strategy, etc., skills that are competitive, efficient, and are preparing you for what the job's going to look like in a couple of years, but the industry's catching up to. We're also very fortunate, like our marketing program, we have, and everybody says this, but we truly do have amazing instructors. Go and look at their profiles on our website. What you're going to see is a list of webinars they've done, events, awards. Many of our instructors in the 2 programs have won teaching and industry awards, you know, or have more letters after their name than in their name, like Jeff, who's on the call with us. So we're very, very fortunate to have some amazing instructors who love to come in and kind of, many of us had opportunities in our career that we'll never be able to pay back, but we can pay it forward. And that's often the motivation for participating and helping shape the marketers of tomorrow. So when our digital marketing certificate launched, it differentiated itself as a strategy-focused program that was for existing and intermediate marketing professionals. Now, obviously, we don't have a lot of senior marketing people that don't understand digital when, as Susan said, 72% of marketing spend in Canada is now digital. So we find ourselves with a student demographic that's a little younger, sometimes undergraduate, and more entrepreneurial, that are looking for more diverse and experiential learning opportunities. So we address this in the digital marketing certificate. It's been enriched both in terms of the content, but also like the learning activities and such to make sure that you have career-ready skills. We've added third-party practical credentials like Google, HubSpot, and others, and a lot of experiential learning. I think half of our courses in the digital marketing program, you work with a real client with your instructor's guidance. And all this is about enhancing your employability in the marketing field. There are a lot of really great courses to choose from strategy to search engine optimization to digital advertising, or even how to analyze digital data. I can't stress enough how evidence-based a lot of this marketing is, because I know we get a bad rap as being smoke and mirrors, but if you work with somebody like anybody on this call, it's a drill down based on evidence, both in terms of the theory and the process, but the assumptions that we make to get you there, right? The old quote used to be, I know half my marketing budget is wasted, I just don't know which half. Identify what the people are doing and you would recognize that. We're all performance marketers, data driven and results driven. So next slide. Again, like the marketing program, this is 100% online. It's a certificate in digital marketing, which requires 5 core courses and your choice of a relevant elective. Online asynchronous, and again, recognizes potentially a accelerated pathway towards the CM designation. If we can look at my last slide, there was a time when the advertising industry grew 8% year over year. Now it's pretty stagnant. Sometimes the industry overall grows 2%. I don't think it's been more than 4 in a while. All that growth is still happening, but it's confined to just the digital marketing area, right? So in other words, the digital marketing industry is growing and there's demand for talent. And there's demand for education from students, which we hope to satisfy. This quote, and there's a lot of interest in social media. So this quote comes from an unsolicited social media post, but one of many students that have felt this way. Rachel says, "For people considering a McMaster continuing education course, I would tell them to take it. The instructors and courses are up to date to industry standards and very knowledgeable." And this sounds like something we would have written for her, but it isn't. We weren't even tagged, I think. We stumbled across it because the student happens to be connected with some of her previous instructors. This student ended up taking 2 programs with us so far because they had such a pleasant experience with the first one. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for letting me tell you a bit about our program here, and I am going to hand back to Melissa, I believe.
Thanks, Chris. So
Melissa.
you led me a very perfect segue because I'm going to talk a little bit more about our Charter Marketer program, and we have a very short video to show you.
The CM designation is one of the most important things marketers can get from the CMA.
The CM program offered professional development through learning activities and is elevated by collaborating with business leaders.
It was a fantastic program that provided industry standard credentials, recognized my global knowledge, and validated my expertise.
It offers me a way to signify professional achievement and advance my career.
The resources, networking opportunities, and the thought leadership provided by the CMA further solidified my decision to pursue this designation.
I encourage every one of my fellow marketers to get the CM designation because this will have a positive impact on your own career and on our business community at large.
Amazing. So if we can just hop to our next slide, we are going to drill down on some of those things you heard our lovely few chartered marketers who are in that testimonial video share. So obviously the chartered marketer is the only professional marketing designation in Canada. Chris already alluded to it, but we have several different pathways, one of them being the education pathway when we have education partners who are pre-approved, and then you have a reduction in courses, so it's one of our accelerated pathway. We have other ones, including an experience pathway, where you have more marketing experience and you have a smaller amount of courses to complete it, and you are one step closer to getting your CM designation. As part of the full program, we have 3 core courses, 4 elective options, including including a relatively new AI option and the Summit course, which is sort of like the culmination of the entire program. Really challenging case course to work through, but really great to put all of your great marketing skills to use. And then we also have some add-on courses available. I wanted to highlight, obviously, from a pricing perspective, if you are a CMA member, we have exclusive member pricing. But as part of a payment discussion here, I wanted to highlight that we have financial aid, we have payment plans, and there is also a fully funded option with limited seats available for that. But just wanted to highlight, as being part of the Charter Marketer community, there's several reasons to take it, but one of those other ones we like to highlight too is there's obviously exclusive benefits to being part of our Charter Marketer community. That being said, I'm happy to roll to our next slide, because we just have a few testimonials there. You obviously heard some of them in the video there as well too. And I'll throw in my own personal testimonial in here as well, that pursuing the Charter Marketer program was one of the best things I could have personally done for my marketing career. That is what brought me here to you all today. So I think a lot of our charter marketers will have very similar stories to what Aaron and Kudzai have here, but how supportive the Charter Marketer program was in really progressing their career, giving them the foundational skills that they needed for their roles in marketing, and really continue to push them to continue to learn, be involved with the marketing community in Canada, and see what else there is to come as being part of the Charter Marketer community. So in the next slide, I just sort of summarize some of those reasons why you would want to pursue the Charter Marketer. So obviously it's about, what does the next step in your career look like? This is a great way to continue to progress, get a designation, set yourself apart from, a very competitive marketing industry in Canada. I will also highlight that we have a very engaged CM community, super supportive, really great, really engaging, really chatty, really talkative, and love to come to our CMA events, really supportive of Charter Marketer initiatives. For example, we just had a CMA Next Marketing Careers Night in person, and it was great to have some of our Charter Marketer community come out and really highlight the program and why it was so important to become a Charter Marketer and stand out as a marketer. One of the other reasons we like to highlight is that professional recognition, right? Saying that as this part of the continuing professional development, the CPD requirements that we have on a annual basis, we continuously keep on top of our marketing trends and everything. And that's really what continues to set us apart, so that we can be marketing masters and really know as much as we can about the marketing profession. So if you are interested in learning more, you can head to chartermarketer.ca. We have a really detailed brochure that will break down all of those key details, some of them that I highlighted here. Obviously, the website has more, or you could also learn more at thecma.ca. And if you are looking to apply as well too, if you use code MMW25, that code will waive your application fee if you apply before the end of the year, December 31st, 2025. So highly encourage you to see if this program is right for you. And we'll just roll into another quick video that Jeff and his team had worked on that talks a little bit more about the Charter Marketer program.
They say the future belongs to those who dream. But progress doesn't happen by dreaming alone. It happens by building, designing, and innovating. From the first sketches of flight to AI-driven factories, every breakthrough begins with a challenge. People said humans would never fly, until the Wright brothers changed history. The world never stops evolving. Technology advances. Markets shift. The real challenge? Anticipating change, adapting strategically, and driving business growth. The best marketers don't just rely on experience. They're lifelong learners who understand business, innovate, and deliver results. The Chartered Marketer designation is Canada's only professional marketing designation and an outstanding differentiator, a way to future-proof your career and redefine what's possible. Because when we challenge ourselves, we don't just keep up, we create the future. So, what kind of marketer do you want to be?
And I'm going to pass it off to Jeff, who's going to talk a little bit more about his role.
Thank you very much, Melissa. So my name is Jeff O'Leary, and I have a very unique role within both the Canadian Marketing Association as well as McMaster. I'm very happy to be here today to talk a little bit about my experience with both McMaster Continuing Education and the Canadian Marketing Association, because for those that are on the call, I really feel that this is a very unique opportunity for those that are looking to take their career to the next step, because what you're going to see through everything that Chris and Melissa have talked through with the unique new offerings that McMaster is keeping ahead of in the marketing area, as well as everything the CMA is doing to continue on your professional education, is not something that you're going to see anywhere else. And I'm being very passionate with what I'm saying because this pathway and the different pathways that McMaster offers, as well as the professional education that the Canadian Marketing Association can provide to you, is something that if you're in a marketing position right now and you're struggling to figure out where do you fit and what kind of community do you want to belong to, and how can you lean on other subject matter experts, and where can you get the training that you need to learn the basics of marketing and earn the certificates in marketing, is something that we have here for you today. And it's really important for me to make sure that everyone comes away from this call understanding that, what you're seeing is best in class. It's best in class training from McMaster, as well as the continuation into a professional designation is comparable, if not leading, as compared to those in the accounting and the human resources profession. So we could just go to the next slide, Irina. So just quickly, a little bit about myself. I've been with McMaster for some time. Looked way back, I think it's about 2013, so I feel old at this point. So that feels like 12 years ago. I started teaching some classes with McMaster CCE in the business, marketing, and accounting areas. And those were the days when we were using overhead projectors in a much older building, and we were talking about e-commerce. And so things have changed quite a bit over time, where over the last 12, 13 years, I've really seen McMaster evolve into this online platform that has afforded those that are in the program flexible learning options to create a curriculum, as Chris mentioned, that allows them to accommodate their lifestyles and their work demands, which is a unique offering that you might see across other PSIs, but you're seeing so much new and fresh material coming out of McMaster, which I have the privilege of working with, because these different micro credentials and the micro badges and all the certificates and diplomas that have all been refreshed with the support and leadership of Chris is just really amazing. And that's why the Canadian Marketing Association has really connected into McMaster with their new programming, to really, put a flashlight and shine the work that's happening. Because as Chris mentioned, the education that you're going to be getting through McMaster is, it's fresh, it's new, it's what's happening today. And you're going to see that through other various means. One of the big things that we look at on the CMA as well as at McMaster are the application of applied projects and real-world assessments. So in all the courses, and most of the courses that we see on McMaster and the Canadian Marketing Association, we are very much using applied learning. Okay, we're putting you in the situation. We're giving you the case, the situation. In some cases, we're actually connecting you with the actual client, and we're saying, go figure it out. Go talk to them. See what they need. Try to help them. We don't have all the answers, but we'll help you with the solutions. And so a lot of what you'll see in your education pathway from McMaster over to the Canadian Marketing Association is really helping those learners that are looking for maybe a single course, those that are looking for a longer sort of certificate program. But we are very practical based. I'm a very practical person. I'm an accountant by trade. And I think Chris and I go back and forth a lot around the idea that we are very practical and we have practical expectations, and we are very authentic in our assessments. And when you leave McMaster and when you come into the CMA and when you leave the CMA, we are very authentic, genuine in our approach, in terms of our education approach. We have strong rubrics. We have strong feedback, right? We ask for excellence, and we'll push you. And I'm not kidding around. We will push you, and we want you to strengthen your skills. And I've seen that over the years, just really, expand over the years, where the world is changing quite a bit. In marketing, we at the CMA we talk about that. We try to future-proof the marketing profession. And what you're seeing at McMaster and into the CMA with the programming that we have in place is designed to very much future-proof the profession. So benefiting from those authentic assessments, those practical applications, puts you in the driver's seat so that when you go and start to work somewhere and they put you in that same situation, you're ready to go. You're set. That's very different in some scenarios where you might be exposed to different forms of types of training, and you may not be as ready to go as quick as you want to take your career. So Irene, if we could just go to the next slide a little bit. Let me just go back one more, that'd be great. Just a little bit more about the CMA, if we could. There we go. So talked a little bit about McMaster and the programs that they have. And the one unique part that I love with the relationship that we have with McMaster is that both have flexible learning options, right? And we very much have designed our programs to stack our education. No one wants to take anything twice in life, right? No one wants to take that introduction to marketing course if they don't have to, because they've already taken it. And they already understand the 4 Ps of marketing, as an example. And so what we try to do is work with, if you're sitting there today and you're a working marketer and you're trying to figure out how do you fit into a profession and how do you want to take your career to the next step, the McMaster, with their new programs, have been able to really customize the curriculum to help get you where you need to be. And then you have the advanced pathway into the CMA program that moves you into the different certificates and courses that we have that allows you to get advanced standing. So what does that mean? That means you get your designation quicker, faster, cheaper than you would otherwise going elsewhere. Okay, and that's very important for someone that if you're working today and time's of essence, and you're trying to make do with the time that you have and the resources that you have, it's important to make sure you make the right choices in life. And I can say very confidently for myself, making the right choices and doing the research and understanding where you can get one credit to another credit makes all the world of difference. And so this partnership has allowed McMaster and the Canadian Marketing Association to really align our education pathways to create that professional journey for those that are looking to create that marketing career and take it to the next step. And so you'll see lots of different forms of online education. The one thing I love with McMaster and the Canadian Marketing Association is we have the same platforms. We have the same approach to education. It's online, it's flexible. We work around you. We have a strong team behind each one of our associations, as at the CMA as well as at McMaster, that if you have a question, you have a problem, we're here to help. That's what we do. We help. And our goal is to really make sure that when you leave both McMaster as well as the CMA, that you are setting yourself up for success and that you have the skills that you need to take your career to the next step. So I am coming in from the example of the CMA in terms of the professional development as well. I've seen the CMA grow significantly over the years in terms of the amount of programming, to going back to that mission of, or that vision of, future-proofing the profession. Marketing today is in constant flux, right? There is change everywhere happening each and every day. And so by connecting into the CMA and starting with McMaster, you're setting yourself up for success in the sense that you are working with organizations that are trying to be 3 steps ahead of even what you're thinking about in terms of what you need to be successful in the career that you're looking to take on. And so that is something that I take very, a strong responsibility with Melissa and the team and the learning team at the CMA, as well as the work that I've done with McMaster. This is a huge responsibility that Chris and I have on our shoulders, as well as all of McMaster, is to make sure that we are catering to the needs of working marketers, as you can see, and to make sure that the professional education and development that you're getting will set you up for success, and not for 2026, but for 2030 and 2035 and onwards. And that's by connecting with with the association as well as McMaster. You're kind of in the funnel, and you're able to see what's coming next to really continue on in your continuous learning journey. So maybe we just go to the next slide, Irina. You can see a little bit around some of the synergies between both. And for me, this is just more of a view to say that, you know, both McMaster and the Canadian Marketing Association are focused on your career. That's pretty powerful because, you know, when I grew up, it's always sort of like you manage your career.
I'll jump in. I know he was probably going to say something so profound that I cannot even touch unless he comes back.
We didn't even have the bandwidth for it.
Jeff has this amazing ability to sort of speak really, really profoundly about a lot of these. So if he has a chance to come back, I'll let him wrap up his slide anyways. But in the meantime, we might as well just move to the next slide, Irina. I'll let Irina play this video. That's, again, some more testimonials from a recent event we had this year.
I pursued the Chartered Marketing designation to reinforce my marketing expertise with the industry-wide recognized credential.
I saw that if I can get the opportunity to get this designation from them, it will enable me to differentiate in the job market, which is very competitive.
I've gained a strong and deeper understanding of the strategic marketing and, most importantly, the trends. So this helped me actually to better understand the consumer behavior and equipped me with all the best practices actually to excel and thrive in this industry.
The Chartered Marketing Program has contributed immensely towards my personal growth. We have been able to attend networking events with my peers, as well as listen to industry experts talking about new trends in marketing and where the future lies.
Being in a community that has the same passion as you goes a long way into building your career in marketing, and Canadian Marketing Association offers this unique opportunity to marketers looking to grow in their career.
So some of my fellow chartered marketers did a lovely job of selling a little bit more what the CMA does there. So on the next slide, I'll just walk you through some of the offerings that the Chartered Marketing Association has. As mentioned, I know we had already talked through the Chartered Marketer program, but when we talk about having marketers of various levels, we're supporting that by having these accelerated pathways. As Jeff had already mentioned, you don't want to have to repeat something if you already know or have some current experience. So that's why we offer these accelerated pathways. If you're just getting started, or if you're a newcomer, for example, we have our CMA Next platform. It's a video-based platform, completely free, really great for resources or soft skill development, and also another great community to join. We have a mentorship program. We're currently accepting applications for our mentorship program, primarily aimed at CMA members, but mentorship, I will highlight, is a great opportunity to learn from other marketers, or if you're ready to share your experience with other marketers. And that career development step with a mentor is really important to, again, future-proof marketing and help others in their career path. We have some very exciting volunteer opportunities. We also have our CMA Awards, which is coming up in a few weeks. The team is hard at work at doing that. Our team would call this Marketing Prom, but it's a very exciting event to recap all of the exciting work that a lot of our members do throughout the entire year. I also highlight, even as a marketer, I could cry at a butter commercial. So it's really nice to see some of the hard work that these companies have put in and the really great content that is to come out and support Canadian businesses as well too. And we also have our CMA Newcomer program. There is lots of opportunities as part of this program. This is sponsored by TD. A lot of great resources in there. You can learn more. Again, all of these programs available at thecma.ca for more details. And if we just go to the next slide, high-level recap of the offerings at the CMA. Key bullet points here: learning, events, and development. And if you are not a member, you can become a member and sort of find the right membership option for you at thecma.ca/membership.
Sorry, Melissa, I don't know, I got kicked out of the room, but I am on my phone just to make sure.
Just as you were about to say something very profound, Jeff, I cut you off, and a unique challenge to Chris and I of not knowing how we were going to summarize that.
I just want to say to everyone that I had one more PowerPoint at the end that I wanted to emphasize. I wanted to emphasize that the synergies on that slide I was mentioning, the synergies between McMaster and the Canadian Marketing Association are amazing right now. And you're seeing so much new forward thinking coming from McMaster. And at the Canadian Marketing Association, we see what's happening at the post-secondary institution, PSI, at McMaster. And we are ready and willing to work forward together as a team, both with McMaster and the Canadian Marketing Association, and as you as a potential learner. So feel confident that you will benefit from the synergies through advanced standing in the professional program for the chartered marketer, and you're getting fresh programming from the McMaster University. So that's kind of what I wanted to finish.
About if you are a McMaster student, you do have access to your membership with the CMA. So there are exclusive benefits to really be able to take advantage of. Some of that includes some preferred pricing on events and learning opportunities as well too. So we always suggest to head to the CMA.ca, see if your member organization is participated, or again, if you're part of McMaster, you do have access to those benefits.
So we're very fortunate to have the people who set aside the time for us on this call today. I want to thank Susan and Melissa and Jeff and Irina and Jezreel and all of you that are attending and listening for coming. For as long as I can remember, the CMA was the go-to for continuous development and marketing. So the fact that I'm involved in a program and working with people that has added this industry recognition to our existing academic recognition is just, I'm wowed every day that I'm a small cog in the large machine here, and very honored to have participated on this call with everyone that has come. And I just want to thank all of you. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.